What you are about to witness is our epic journey through Monster Hunter Wilds to reclaim a title we had unceremoniously lost. A title that etches itself into the very fiber of our being, making us feel incomplete without it. A title only the truest of monster hunters can proudly proclaim. And a title that can only be earned by slaying something just Monster Hunter Wilds withholds. Join us in our journey as we slay each and every new monster that was added into the franchise with the release of Monster Hunter Wilds. For once we complete this task, we can once again claim that our Monster Hunter careers are complete, having slain every mainline monster in the entire franchise. But this journey might not be easy. For the Forbidden Lands houses environments unexplored, civilizations undiscovered, monsters unknown, and secrets to unfold. So join us in the trials, the tribulations, and the mind-shattering moments that occur on this monumental journey to reclaim our titles as true monster hunters. So without further ado, it is time that we let our journey officially begin.
As we began our fight with Chatacabra, it became apparent that between his devious licks and bombastic pounding, that this foe is a force to be reckoned with. Is what I would say if we'd never played a video game before, because bro is basically just a punching bag, a complete joke of a fight. Likewise, for a monster that's a joke, it is only deserving that he gets one for his demise.
I'm the chat man!
After what might be the biggest rectal fracture the world has ever seen, Chatacabra met its unfortunate demise, which leads us straight into our next target, the Quematrice. However, we didn't really know where to find him, so we decided to ask some of the locals. Hello up there! Do you two have any idea where Quematrice might be?
I do, but I don't help ugly people.
Arnold, watch your mouth! What kind of example do you want to set for the children? You know I want them to be upstanding and citizens.
Amy, calm down. It's not that big a deal.
Well, what did you just say? I am calm, Arnold. I just don't want to have your bad mouth rub off on the children.
Here we go again. Listen, buddy, you better get out of here fast. It's about to get ugly.
Arnold, are you even listening to me? Hello? I was having such a great day, then you just had to come and ruin it like you always do, Arnold. Why do you have to be like this?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave. See ya. Bye-bye.
I see what you mean, because you're never considering other people, Arnold. It's ridiculous.
Meanwhile...
There you are. Certainly took you long enough. I already took care of Quematrice. So I guess we can move on to the next monster of the Forbidden Lands, Lala Barina.
And this is where things get exciting, because so far in this journey, we have been finding within the Windward Plains pretty great map in its own right, with its large Rathalos herds, expansive dunes, and the ever so magnificent Wind's Gasp. However, all of this pales in comparison to the beauty that can be found within the Scarlet Forest. Almost said it best.
I still can't believe the size of this forest. Every step brings another fascinating discovery. And it feels so vibrant and alive.
Truly one of the most visually stunning maps we have ever seen in this entire franchise. However, with Eric being a dingus, this pretty environment quickly turns ugly as we find ourselves within a hostage situation with Lala Barina as the captor.
But we can't leave him.
That's right, because Eric is one of us. Luckily, we're experts, navigating our way through Lala Barina's silk maze, allowing Olivia to grab Eric and make her escape. Well, almost. Lala Barina still caught us, which means we go to plan B.
Let the negotiations begin.
Stop, Lala Barina. We don't have to fight.
Give me back my dinner.
No, Eric is one of us. We can't let you eat him.
I don't care if he is one of you, because soon he will become one with me. As I gut his insides and slip his intestines.
I understand you're a spider, but jeez.
You both too.
Objection!
You won't be eating any of us.
What's going to stop me? Do you really think you puny hunters have any chance against my heroic enzymes? Rendering you completely useless. Very much looking forward to handing out for dinner.
Hold it!
Lala Barina, we're gonna give you one final chance to surrender, or we might just have to do it.
What are you talking about? You trying to make me doubt my god?
Just surrender, and you won't have to find out.
Never foolish humans.
Fine, we warned you. So this is goodbye. Now, if only that worked in the game. The power of editing sure is amazing sometimes. But with Lala Barina excommunicated from the living, we have yet another monster taken down, and we can move on to our next target. Oh my god. Wait a minute.
And then there's Chunky. He's dead.
Okay, maybe we'll wait a little bit longer until we can find ourselves that Balahara, because what was?
Due to slaying Chunky, Plum Peach here is unknowingly going to provide us some rather useful intel. I mean, sure, we heard a little bit about Arkveld, but that's not what we were referring to, for Plum Peach mentions this.
Too many in our forest now. Them and their big kahuna. Ooh, you don't want to get messy with that one.
Don't want to mess with Big Kahuna, huh? Well, I have just the idea for that. But for now, we headed back to Kunafa Village, where we were met with a sudden turn of events.
Put up like, can I park right here? Fresh from the pit, it just sounds nice with the new V6, and my kicks is clean, and I mean when I drive by, watch me.
So we're just going to pretend that we escaped heroically and not get sucked into the Balahara sand trap and had to fight. But if you really want to know how that went, here's a quick visual representation.
Yeah, I'd say that's about how Balahara went. Just had to whip out our bow guns real quick and victory was ours. But with him out of the way, our sights were now set on that alpha Doshaguma. And remember how I said I knew how to deal with Big Kahuna? Well, it's time to enact that plan. As we were heading back to Kunafa, I took a pit stop to visit a familiar face.
Hey, Amy wanted me to apologize, so I'm sorry for calling you ugly earlier. That was uncouth of me.
Ah, no problem, Arnold. I forgive you. Though if you really want to make it up to me, mind doing us a favor?
Sure, what do you got?
Alright, so my friend and I hunted down in Kongolava in the Scarlet Forest, and the Woodwood leader Plum Peach told us that it's best not to mess with the Big Kahuna, Alpha Doshaguma. I was hoping that you could talk to one of the underlings and extract its biggest weakness.
Now that's an underhanded tactic I can get behind. Count me in. Meet me back here in approximately 1 hour, and I'll provide you with my intel.
1 hour later.
Ah, you're back. So were you able to get any information?
Oh yeah. I was able to discover its greatest weakness, and one that can kill it within a minute.
Oh, and what might that be?
Armed with the knowledge of the Alpha Doshaguma's weakness, we prepared ourselves for the battle ahead and made our way back to Kunafa village to warn the Elder about the pack of Doshaguma. Luckily, however, the Elder told us that the sounds of the gem chimes would keep them safe, so at least we don't have to...
Stay calm! Gather the young and elderly and take shelter!
Well, crap. We were feeling a bit remorseful for this Alpha Doshaguma, but now that it completely ransacked the village of Kunafa and gave Nata deeper emotional trauma, there's no remorse left. Now it must die.
Arnold was able to uncover that the Alpha Doshaguma would have an extremely allergic reaction to the secretions of the spear tuna fish. So much so that it gets asphyxiated within a minute. So, we did some fishing and used a freshly caught spear tuna for maximum potency. Definitely not the most noble of victories, but Plum Peach did warn us not to mess with the big kahuna, so we didn't want to take any chances.
With Dosha down, though, we could set our sights on our next target, the Rompopolo. See, we found ourselves in a bit of a doozy here, because technically speaking, we do end up facing off in Uth Duna first. However, the game doesn't actually let you slay it, because we backed away before landing the finishing blow. However, as we rendezvoused with the group, we heard an earth-shattering screech. Perturbed. We had no choice but to investigate the phenomena, but little did we expect what was awaiting our arrival.
The White Wraith. It's real!
Wanting to seize the moment, we pounced, ready to kill. But as soon as we were about to engage, it flew off, completely ignoring our existence. Emotion swelling inside. The truth. Did he collide? The beast that destroyed his home, made manifest in his biome. Conflicted on what just transpired. A new feeling not acquired. For he would take his fear and kick it straight in the rear. As a new emotion took center stage. And that one is complete rage.
After that harrowing experience, we deliberated with our Woodwood allies before Zato appeared and offered us to join his caravan to a new village for matters of trade. And thus, our adventure continues from this vibrant forest into a new locale, one which harbors a much less welcoming atmosphere. Holy moly, that thing is hideous!
Wow, that thing looks like the way a fart tastes.
I know, right? I bet it smells like beef.
Hey, that's rude. I'll let you know my mom told me that I'm beautiful.
You look like a walking yeast infection.
You look like the reject Sith Lord, Darth Hideous.
He looks like a rug after a dog butt scoot on it.
Bro is gas, and not in a good way.
Yeah, God forgot to cook with this one.
If you were a rapper, you'd be called Little Nauseating.
I would rather be trapped in a room with 10 Congolalas that just finished gorging themselves on some Taco Bell than be within 39.5 feet of this thing.
Why 39.5 feet?
Because you look like a 3-decker toadstool and sauerkraut sandwich.
With arsenic sauce.
Wow, you guys are mean ones.
Hey, no need to be such a Grinch. Though I guess it's hard not to when you look like that.
Please, I can't take any more of these insults. You don't know how hard my life has been. I was bullied so hard at school I dropped out of kindergarten. Dad said he was going out to get some food, but he never came back. Mom is in a wheelchair. My brother was apparently a paid actor. I never even had a grandma. But worst of all, my lifelong crush of 3 weeks, Becky, went off to marry Ben. Ben said...
You still look like a walking yeast infection.
This is a rare research opportunity. Can't let it go to waste.
I suppose that is true, Alma. It's not every day you get to research a monster that died of
Emotional damage!
Well, that was certainly a fun bit of levity after the intensity that was the Doshaguma invading the village and our confrontation with the White Wraith. I still don't really understand what the Rompopolo was talking about when he said he never had a grandma, but I suppose it's best not to dwell on that too much, for our journey was about to reach its most climactic thus far, and we needed to be locked in. After taking down that Rompopolo, little did we expect that our next target would be the apex of the Windward Plains.
Rey Dau.
In the Windward Plains, there was a storm, and we were approaching. For at its pinnacle were 2 monsters fighting for survival. After some intense fighting and an emotional breakdown from Nata, Arkveld would find itself on top, sapping Rey Dau of its energy and letting out a ferocious roar in complete victory before flying off. But this wasn't the end, for Rey Dau gets shot by lightning, reanimating itself and becoming more powerful before turning its gaze to us and becoming its own ray gun. Witnessing such power, we knew it needed to be slayed. And although Rey Dau was a menacing opponent, we had one distinct advantage, and that was the beta experience. We had knowledge of all of its attacks, so nothing caught us off guard. His little horn thrust? Nothing. His seismic slam? Too easy. His powered lightning bolts? Psh. His ray gun? I don't think so. Nothing could stop our assault on this Rey Dau. He simply had no grounds to gain footing on while we were around. We were the masters of his destiny, and we held his fate on our threads. He may have gotten a hit in here or there, but he stood no chance. Rey Dau may be the apex of the Windward Plains, conjuring the storm to do his bidding, but we were at the apex of our game, and we were nigh unstoppable. It was a complete brutality against Rey Dau, so much so that we felt nearly bad for the poor thing. We were practically invincible, and swelling with confidence, we knew victory was in our grasp, or so we thought. In the middle of battle, Frost decided to go change his weapon as he likes doing, so I found myself soloing Rey Dau for a brief period of time. It really wasn't that big a deal. I was still evading or defending all of its attacks like usual. However, I had a brief moment of weakness, and I let my hubris get the best of me. They say you can see your life flash before you as you die. I didn't know whether this was true or not, but in this moment, I witnessed my whole hunting career laid bare before me as Rey Dau's electricity shocked my brain. 3U. 4U. Generations. World. Genu. Iceborne. Rise. Freaking Night. Sunbreak. And even a bit of Wilds. Thought this was it. The time and place where I'd die. I suppose it was bound to happen eventually. My hunter lived a long and prosperous career over the span of a decade. It was only a matter of time before his inevitable demise. Being a hunter is a dangerous job, facing off against freaks of nature, some that can even change the very environment they live in. Wait, change the nature of the ecosystem? Elder dragons? But Rey Dau isn't, and he was also weakened from that fight! Right. All the images flashing before my eyes had a single common denominator. My hunter getting shocked with electricity. I thought it was a byproduct of getting hit by Rey Dau, linking that sensation to those of my past memories, but then I began to realize something even further. My life was not flashing before my eyes. Not even close. It was my brain sending a message that would awaken something deep within me. I even endured countless battles against monsters such as Quematrice, Zenogre, Rajang, and they couldn't take me down. I even fought against the legendary Kirin, an all-mother Narwa, and their electricity was not enough. What am I saying? I got struck by old Fatalis' lightning, and here I stand, stronger than ever. My brain isn't flashing my life before my eyes as I die. It was trying to tell me that no matter how much pain and brutality I endure, one thing remains the same, and it is that hunters don't die. Well, I hope you're feeling at least a little motivated after that. But forsaken, I am no longer awakened, and now I'm back to my old normal self. So with Rey Dau slain, we can now move on to our next target, the Hirabami.
And in our efforts to find Hirabami, we would end up going to the Ice Shard Cliffs to search for Nata's home, where we found ourselves locked in a fierce battle against a familiar spider. To our surprise, however, just as we were about to land the finishing blow, it tried to use some emotional manipulation to save itself.
Wait, Hunter, please spare me. I have so many children that rely on me to survive. You wouldn't dare orphan hundreds of innocent children, would you?
What, you mean these children?
monsters.
That's right, true monster hunters! So now that Nerscylla became so grief-stricken watching dozens of its children ruthlessly murdered that it died, it was time for us to take care of our own child. For Nata came down with a fever, and the Hirabami manifested itself, trapping us within the cliffs, needing to act fast before the fever got worse. It was time for some bargaining. Hello, Hirabami, would you mind letting us pass? You see, we got a—
No.
What? Why not?
No.
That's not a proper answer to my question.
No.
Can you say anything other than no?
Try.
Asking. Again.
Can you please let us pass so we can help this child?
No.
Then you must die!
Yeah, I suppose we shouldn't have expected any cooperation from a group of monsters that look like they all collectively share a single brain cell. But at least we took down the Hirabami now, and we can head back to Azu's, where we encountered our greatest struggle thus far.
And here they were, for we found ourselves facing off against two of these ruffians alongside Olivia before splitting up to take care of them individually. Unfortunately for us though, this was no normal Ajarakan.
You humans, give it up. You, don't stand a chance.
And what makes you think we can't beat you?
Do you even know who I am? The name's Ajarakan. I'm kind of a big deal. I gotta admit though, I admire your prowess. But no human here has ever been able to best me.
Well then, you've never seen humans like us before. You may be a Khan, but we have felled much larger foes than you before. You don't scare us.
Oh, we got a wise guy here. Listen up, chumps. I'm the king of the Kongs, beast of the basin, apex of the apes, but most importantly, the bringer of the boom! I gotta say though, you piqued my interest. Let's see what you got. But don't be surprised if you find yourself running away and crying to your mommy.
Fine by us.
Whoa! I've never seen a human do that before. Things are getting interesting. You two are more impressive than I thought, but it certainly can match my ultimate attack. Prepare yourself, humans. Think of this warning as courtesy of the king.
Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like
Whoa, didn't stand a chance. I doubt I'll be seeing those two again.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
Oh, back for more, are you? Listen, scrub. There's only one person that can best me in battle. And he doesn't even exist in this world. So just give it up, and what are your boss music? Whoa,
Die 1,000 deaths!
Perfect KO!
After witnessing the raging demon man completely obliterate Ajarakan, we knew our lives were in danger, so we booked it straight back to Azu's. But unfortunately for us, things were only going to get a whole lot worse. Enraged that the king, Ajarakan, had been ruthlessly murdered, the rest of the troop showed up at Azu's, ready to lay waste to it all. But just as they were about to attack, something even deadlier. Dumbfounded on what just transpired, the chief began to tell us what we just witnessed.
The Black Flame. Long ago, there was a particularly fierce fire spring. The Black Flame came and consumed the Everforge.
But we can't let that happen again! After witnessing what the Black Flame did to those Ajarakan, we knew we were messing with an apex. A monster rivaled by none other in its environment. And after barely escaping with our lives against Ajarakan, what chance did we stand against a monster even stronger than him? The odds were stacked against us, but nevertheless, we had to try. This battle wasn't just for our pride as hunters. It was a battle for all of Azu's and its people. For if we failed, the Black Flame would consume the Everforge once more, leaving nothing but ruin in its wake as Azu's and all of its people would die. In this battle, failure was not an option. This is the most important battle we have faced thus far. The whole village of Azu's is counting on us to save them. However, we have never seen a monster quite like this before. A new classification yet to be fought, a cephalopod. As the battle began, we tread our ground lightly, analyzing its moves and patterns to avoid any injury that we couldn't afford. We may have been caught off guard by a few attacks that left quite an impact, but we were able to slowly adjust. But like any seasoned hunter, we were able to find openings in the monster's aggression to strike at it ourselves. And as the battle raged on, we felt the tides changing in our favor as we were evading more and more of its blows while acclimating ourselves to the intense heat that engulfed its body. What started out as us playing as the tortoise hiding behind our shields turned to us as the hares, hopping around the Black Flame and striking back in great succession. As the Black Flame slowed down, we sped up. The finish line was fast approaching, and likewise, so were we. But perhaps that is exactly what the Black Flame wanted us to think, as we were about to find out. Throughout this battle, we had witnessed all of the attacks in the Black Flame's arsenal. From the plethora of tentacle slaps, the body slams, the magma boulder tosses, the blowtorch, to the magma boulder bombs. We thought we had this monster figured out. However, there was apparently one final attack that it had hiding beneath its suckers, and it was about to change everything.
Oh no, it's got me!
Frost, get out of there!
I can't! Its grip is too strong!
No. There's no way this can be happening right now. Where am I? What happened? What are those things? Baby, wait, it's coming back to me now. I got knocked out by the Black Flame and Frost. This was supposed to be a journey we completed together, but with him being murdered by the Black Flame, what's even the point? Maybe if it's better if I just lie here and let the flames take me. Not like there's anyone relying on me anyways. Azu's! In the depths of my amnesia for being sucker punched and the sorrow of Frost being murdered, I had completely forgotten that we weren't just fighting the Black Flame for no reason. We were risking our lives against this thing because we were the only ones who could. This hunt wasn't just for sport or to upgrade our weapons. It was a hunt of necessity. I couldn't save Frost, but at least I might be able to save the people of Azu's, and while that alone should be enough to motivate me to fight, that wasn't the real driver here. No, it was vengeance.
Oh nice, you were able to slay the Black Flame.
Frost? I thought you were dead!
Of course not, I just got carted to camp and got back up. Besides, you were the one who said hunters never die.
Well, I did, but why didn't you come to help me then?
Well, I was going to, but right as I got up from being carted back to camp, I heard the spirit of Ryozo himself whispering to me. He told me that he sensed the presence of the elusive Petracanths, and I knew I had to catch it from my collection in his honor.
So while I was off fighting this extremely dangerous monster, you thought it would be wise to go fishing?
Yep, that's correct.
Why does this feel vaguely familiar?
Things about to happen here.
A spot of fishing by the
Yeah.
way. 今回釣りが餌じゃなくてルアーを選んでルアーを動かしてする
Despite Frost completely letting me down, I was able to slay the Black Flame and save the people of Azuz. So after a bit of celebration, and this guy here that I totally forgot the name of started crying, not to realize how strong people could be before the plenty overtook Azuz once again. And now that Azuz was safe, we found ourselves parting ways to head deeper in the Ice Shard Cliffs in further search of Nata's home. And as fate would have it, we might have just found it. However, a Doshaguma, but
Something's wrong!
as we began our fight, we had simply thought this was a mere subspecies. But there were just a few aspects to that hypothesis that were particularly off. First, there were distinct purple veins pulsating throughout its body that almost made it seem as if it was being empowered by some sort of external source. Second, alongside some of its attacks, it would spawn some almost coral-looking substance that could either be broken by attacking it or surged with some sort of explosive energy if empowered through Doshaguma's attacks. Third, after a certain threshold of attacking the Doshaguma, it erupted in some sort of gaseous-looking discharge. Fourth, after we slain this beast, Alma discovered something particularly intriguing about this Doshaguma.
It seems to lack reproductive organs, and its stomach and esophagus have atrophied.
But lastly, and the most confounding, was that whilst we fought this Doshaguma, it would begin gathering energy from the environment, almost as if it was sapping some sort of life force that rejuvenated its strength. This by itself was already quite perplexing. But we have seen something like this twice before. It seems that we have a mystery on our hands, but instead of splitting up and looking for clues, we had something a little bit more pertinent on our minds, and that was finding Nata's home. In desperation, Nata started yelling out the name of his father figure.
Tashin!
And as luck would have it, we found him. Aw, well that's nice. Not only did Nata find one of his own, but we could also inquire about the Doshaguma we just encountered. Or at least that was our plan until... Another monster suffering from the same affliction as that Doshaguma, but this one,
A Rathalos.
Confronted with such a dilemma, we had no choice but to slay it, and it was eerily similar to what we experienced with that Doshaguma. The first time it was a surprise, and we simply wrote it off as a freak of nature. But for it to happen twice now with this Rathalos, this is no mere coincidence. Something is definitely wrong here. But what? Alright, so you're gonna have to bear with us here because there was a lot of exposition dump that happens when we enter this village. So in order for things to make sense, we got a little explaining to do, so just give me a minute. Essentially, we slayed the Rathalos, entered the village with Tashin, and he tells us about Wilk, or as they like to call it, anyways, apparently there's this thing called the Dragon Torch that is the source of all wyvern milk, this also being the primary energy source for those white monsters that we had fought. It seems that this mystery is coming closer to an end, but there was something Tashin was about to reveal to us about their ancestors that would completely solve this entire mystery and bust it right open. As Tashigati took us deeper into Iberia, we approached some cocoon-looking things which were revealed to us to be manufactured monsters. Never in a million years could we have ever expected this. I mean, it's unbelievable because something doesn't add up. These monsters,
they don't eat. Iberia's energy is their sole requirement to function. They live indefinitely and therefore have no need to reproduce.
And if Arkveld is one of them, then why did Arkveld attack Uth Duna? Why did Arkveld attack Rey Dau? And why did it come back? Our whole journey has been leading up to this confrontation with Arkveld, but now that we are standing in front of it, our goal here was not to slay him, it was merely to repel this behemoth in order to further understand and observe what is going on with it. Is it a malfunction, a guardian gone rogue, or something different? We don't know. But it seems that with one mystery solved, another one is manifested, and we need to uncover its secrets, for it is our duty as hunters of the guild. After dealing enough damage to Arkveld, it decided to retreat. While we may not have learned the phenomena behind its actions, we certainly got a good chunk of hunting experience against this thing if fate puts us in this position again. But for now, we simply headed back to the others to discuss our plans from here. As we rendezvoused with Tushy, he was perplexed on Arkveld's behavior.
Yes, it was feeding. It's unprecedented.
However, he did know someone by the name of the Allharken, who could potentially know more about the situation.
She hearkens information from far reaches and has amassed knowledge from across history.
In order to reach them, we needed to make the treacherous trek across the cliffs, where a giant monster that could end our entire careers awaited. As to avoid such a situation, we met up with a peculiar ally.
There.
Rovo, buddy old pal here, told us the way to the Allharken and even stated that the giant beast was away. So with such fortuitous timing, we hastily made our way over the path. However, the beast was in fact not away. It's time to kick it into high gear, for we're about to outrun this thing. It may be able to walk on the walls by freezing the ground to secure its footing, but our sacrets were trained professionals, bobbing and weaving amongst the rubble to outmaneuver this monstrous foe. And unlike some other loser hunter who would probably have to repel this thing to escape,
we are in the upper echelon of hunters in the guild. And with all our skills and prowess, we were able to narrowly escape.
Yay! We're in Suja now! So we pet the Poogie for good luck. Yes, it's real. Before meeting up with the Allharken, who basically just gave us a whole rundown about Iberia, the Dragon Torch, how she had no idea how Arkveld's path would end, then feeding us a feast before we could be on our merry way back to Tashubidi-Lubidi, where he told us that
the Guardian Sentry has been seen wandering the area ahead.
Well that's an ominous bit of foreshadowing. Whoa! Now this is the kind of monster we would expect to be a guardian. Between its keen sense of smell, allowing it to track down any nearby prey, its cunning and stealthy nature that allows it to stalk from the shadows, and its considerable agility that allows it to apprehend its target in the matter of seconds. This is truly one of the best monsters to be a guardian. The only problem with this, though, is that while it thought we were its prey, we were in fact the Predator. While we may have been the predator to this Ebony in the end, it turns out that we would become prey to something
much deadlier.
And what's up with this UI? Whatever. Think about that later. We got a monster to slay. As we started fighting this mysterious monster, we had to be especially careful about what we did, because somehow our moves became greatly limited, as all we could really do was dodge roll, use our basic attacks, and heal ourselves with some potions.
It was especially difficult at first, since we had to adapt to the fact that our basic attacks now depleted our stamina bar anytime we used a normal attack, basically locking us into using simple 3-hit combos to whittle down Jewu's health, slowly but surely.
And while it may have been off-putting to lose most of our mobility, it also felt kind of refreshing to be put in this situation that forced us to play similarly to our days as a greenhorn hunter. Back then, it was more so about patience and timing, reading the monster's moves and executing your attacks when you had an opening between the monster's aggression.
Due to that past experience, we were fortunate enough not to get too overwhelmed with the sudden change of pace, and by following similar strategies, we were able to continuously survive the onslaught of attacks placed upon us by this monster until we inevitably came out the victors.
Well, that was certainly an experience. That is about the last thing that we expected to happen. Oh, here we go. Whew, we're back to normal now. I have no clue where my cat found that weapon, but I recall him just randomly showing up with it around the time we encountered that Nerscylla. Whatever the case is, it seems we're safe now, because that weapon shattered into pieces, and my cat kinda just, he has a banana? I don't know what he's gonna do with that thing, but whatever. These past few monsters have been quite the mind-boggling sequence of events. Beginning with encountering that guardian Doshaguma, which we thought was some sort of freak of nature, to swiftly being met with that guardian Rathalos. Once we saw him, we knew something deeper was going on. This led us to find out that these monsters were actually manufactured to protect Wyveria, which is exactly what resulted in us heading straight into battle with that Ebony Odogaron as we delved deeper into this environment. However, when such a web exists in nature, there will always be one to exploit it, which is why we were then thrust into battle against that Jewu. It was certainly a long journey to get here. But now that we were all caught up on our little hunting journal, this next battle is the most anticipated and fateful one, for it is time to take down Arkveld. As we made our way to the deepest sanctum of Wyveria, we witnessed a gruesome display of blood splattered all over the wall, before reaching a wide opening where none other than Arkveld awaited, mindlessly feasting like a drone. It can't help itself though. It finally broke free from the chains that shackled it here in Wyveria. It was merely acting in a way any creature would when it needed to eat. However, this Arkveld is out of control, and for the safety of the ecosystem and Arkveld itself, it must be stopped. Even though this may be the first action that Arkveld was able to choose for itself in its entire lifetime, it's also time then for Arkveld to learn that actions have consequences. We had a clear-cut strategy entering this fight. While Arkveld may be breaking free from Wyveria, he is still a guardian. And knowing guardians are powered through wyvern milk, if we can expunge that milk from its body, we can weaken it enough to a point where we can land a fatal blow.
It wasn't going to be easy though. This is an animal fighting for its life, having gone completely primal.
As a result, I found myself at the mercy of this behemoth multiple times as it trapped me between the wall, pinning me down and constricting me within its grasp, or when it methodically wailed its chains around before ambushing me from behind with a precise strike.
And while it may sound like Arkveld was getting the upper hand on us, that wasn't quite the case, as we had already been gouging its weak points and executing on our strategy as it was slowly losing more and more of its wyvern milk.
We did this so much, in fact, that after enough blows, we just about depleted its entire supply, and it was running on empty as it made its way back to where we first dueled. It would be here, though, that we would bear witness to a horrific act of utter indulgence before fear took hold and obliteration awaited me. Definitely not my proudest moment. Witnessing such raw aura and power engulfing Arkveld, I simply froze in fear, and I paid the price. Realizing, though, that after experiencing such a devastating attack, Arkveld must be getting weak, and this was its act of desperation to survive. It's time for us to end this, once and for all.
As BBake returned from carting, Arkveld had already retreated to the deepest recesses of Wyveria to rest. However, we were determined to fell this beast, and we were not going to let it get away this time.
Arkveld has been the primary entity by which our journey has taken locomotion. All of our actions were either correlated or directly centered around searching and tracking down this monster to avenge Nata and his people. But now that we've finally had the chance to pin it down, this wasn't a feeling of pride or success, but one of melancholy.
You see, Arkveld wasn't doing anything wrong, per se. It was a victim of itself and the environment surrounding it. And through some unexplained miracle, this Arkveld was able to overcome its origins as a construct of the ancient civilization and get a chance to live the life it had always deserved. To live the life that any of the Guardians deserved.
To roam free, eat free, think free, and to live free. But the world and nature simply isn't fair, and Guardian Arkveld got to experience that fact firsthand. And while it pains us to do this, Arkveld must die, but in the very least, it will be able to pass on peacefully, and doing so after it was able to live for itself, and not in servitude of those who made it. And thus, Arkveld's story has officially come to a close. However, what it would lead us to will become our most decisive encounter of this whole journey. Remember back when I posited the question as to why Arkveld returned to Wyveria? Well, it is because it was drawn to the elemental energy produced from the Dragon Torch. Or maybe it wasn't just the Dragon Torch it was drawn to, but instead what was housed within it.
It can't be. A guardian?
That's right, the Dragon Torch had been overrun by a monster known as Zoh Shia, the final defense created by Wyveria, and the same monster that had doomed the capital all those years ago.
But now we find ourselves stuck in the most difficult decision. We can stop the Dragon Torch. We even have the means to do so, for housed within Nata's pendant is an extremely concentrated mass of power that could dissolve the Dragon Torch and its energy. If we were to do this, we could sever Zoh Shia's life force, therefore, it shall die. However, the entire ecosystem would be thrown out of balance, as the Dragon Torch's energy would cease to exist throughout the lands.
Now we just have to decide what to do.
My vote is to save as many lives as possible. We must stop the Dragon
Whoa,
Torch.
hold on. After we investigate. We don't have all the information. The world will
Says
never
the
see
man
such
who's seen what
innovation.
these menaces
And
are
let me
capable
study it, see how it works. Then do what you want. Easy.
Easy's no word to just throw around. This will
But at
destroy
least
their
they
natural
won't
order.
be dead.
I'll do it. I'll stop the Dragon Torch.
It seems we have an ultimatum. It's time to end the Dragon Torch. As we arrived, the tension was palpable. The fate of the entire ecosystem at the hands of a young boy and his pendant. A pendant that would change the course of history forever. It's not like we wanted to do this, but what other choice do we have? Zoh Shia needs to die, and the only way to do so is by dissolving the Dragon Torch. Or is it?
We don't have to do this. There's one other option.
Are you sure? Right. It's worth a shot, isn't it?
We've been through every environment, fought numerous monsters, and experienced the civilizations that have tied their very existence to the natural order of this land. If we were to break the Dragon Torch now, everything would be thrown out of balance. Everything would struggle to survive, and everything might die. And we can't let that happen.
By my own order,
We're either going to beat this monster,
I will slay Zoh Shia.
or we're gonna die trying. As the battle began, we were taken aback by the physical appearance of this monstrosity. We knew guardian monsters were constructs, but each one we'd encountered so far has been directly fashioned after an existing species of monster. But this thing? What is this thing? It fought just like any other guardian, albeit with unrivaled power, summoning crystals of Wilk to explode in a tremendous eruption. However, it doesn't look like anything we have ever seen before, yet its moves felt vaguely deliberate and oddly familiar. We noticed Zoh Shia's body is encased in what appears to be a shelling of regenerative glossy white Wilk crystal, perhaps hiding what truly lies underneath.
From the sharp and sleek tail that looks like it could pierce the skies, the wing arms with an exquisite display of what appears to be a plume of Wilk flowing up to its digits, along with ethereal purple accents, giving it the essence of holy divinity to its facial armor plating that sports an array of pointed horns, the two largest protruding up to the heavens.
Its current manifestation seemed to reflect its role as the guardian angel of Wytheria. However, as the battle persisted, its role as guardian angel would start to show its cracks, you could say.
As I landed a direct blow upon its head, its facial plating would begin to break off, revealing the essence of lifelessness as its hollow gaze pierced our very souls. Fitting for a monster bereft of a natural upbringing, but what would be unveiled next would go against anything we could have ever expected as it released a massive howl and departed from its angelic facade.
Having revealed part of its true colors, this guardian took the form of the devil, while its demonic gaze locked onto our hunters, releasing a barrage of new attacks. We would witness it spew massive fireballs, erupting on impact to create an explosion of heat. It would spread its will crystals around its body before spewing its fire breath over the ground to burn any that would come within reach. But the most devastating was when it flew to the front of the room to display its mastery over the elements, expulsing an inconceivable amount of fire from its body to summon meteors that rain down from above whilst unleashing a catastrophic inferno, murdering any pitiful soul caught in its wake. This is easily one of the most powerful monsters we have ever fought. Its strength was unfathomable, but it felt so familiar, and it wouldn't be long till we figured out why. But when the battle reached its climax and its jet black scales would appear, the origin of its attacks would manifest, constructed from monsters most severe. It was at this moment that we knew we were fighting
Neo Fatalis.
But it wasn't just Fatalis that this construct took inspiration from. This is an amalgamation of many high-class Elder Dragons.
From the very beginning of this fight, when it would slam its wing arms in the ground, causing Wilk explosions, it was copying the same exact move directly from Sappy Jiva's own bioenergy explosions.
Then, we noticed the cracking of its shell and the swiping of its wing arm, showcasing its similarity to Sharashvalda, which exhibited these same exact patterns. From here, it would showcase a move reminiscent of Geismagorm, slamming the ground with its giant wing arm, both of which trigger a massive tremor.
Then when its real head breached the air and Zoh Shia blasted its fire breath on the ground, it was doing so in direct fashion of Fatalis itself. Similar was its use of slithering on the ground and shooting its fireballs at her hunters. The most notable inspiration, though, was its Area Wine Inferno, harkening back to the days when Castle Shrade met its demise. But this time Zoh Shia decided to add its own little twist, sprinkling in meteors that were highly reminiscent of those seen by Dire Morales. Zoh Shia would also weave in a flagship move used by Crimson Fatalis, summoning a wave of dancing fireballs that bounced across the ground in unpredictable fashion.
But the attack that made everything clear to what we were truly fighting was when Zoh Shia conjured the sacred Red Lightning, the likes only ever seen by old Fatalis.
This is truly one of the most fascinating monsters to ever exist, and the crown jewel of the ancient civilization. And while Zoh Shia may have been constructed with the DNA of all these monsters to act as the perfect defender for Wyberia and the Dragon Torch, there was also one thing that all these elders have in common.
And it's that we were the ones to slay them.
As we made it back to Suja to meet up with Toots, he cried. Zoh Shia had been slain, and the Keepers as well as the Guardians could begin living a new life. And with Zoh Shia being the final boss, the credits would start to roll. So I think it would be a great time to reminisce on our careers as hunters. So here's how it started.
It all started one day when Frost and I went to a GameStop and we went with a friend to get Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. We saw the guy on the box and we were completely blown away by how it looked. And it looked so cool that we had to buy it. I mean, like, it's an alligator dragon. It's amazing. Super cool. Nothing better. Best monster in the series. No contest. So yeah, we kind of just brought it home. Now 98 character. And we named the series and then we got hooked and then we haven't stopped playing since. And then we're hopefully please help. We're in debt. We're pretty much in debt.
Zoh Shia may be dead, but the journey's far from over. As Nada met up with our hunter, we discovered something very important to show him.
Is it true?
As we ascend the cliffs of the Windward Plains, atop lies a nest where we find an egg from a most peculiar monster.
It's Arkveld's.
Arkveld laid an egg! There's my little jingle for you about how Arkveld was able to bring its species back from extinction. It's really things like this that make you think, wow, Nature is crazy. And that's exactly what we ended up fighting, a
Big fat chicken.
Nerscylla the frenzy virus, until we got news about an aberrant Lala Barina that ventured into Iberia, and that necessitated further investigation. As we pulled up to the scene, we found the Lala Barina going wonky wonk, and it would attack this secret whose badonkadonk would slam into this pod, spawning this chonky chonk.
Did it just... Did I miss it?
And yeah, that's how we started fighting Fulgur Anjanath. As the fight began, Olivia exclaimed we should focus on the Fulgur Anjanath while she handles the Lala Barina. And to be quite frank, coming off of the heels from taking down Zoh Shia, this was extremely easy. We have fought a Fulgur Anjanath before, we fought a Guardian monster before, but most importantly, this thing's a stupid little T-Rex with his pee-pee brain. So while it was flailing itself around and conjuring electricity in its mindless brute strength, we were expertly dodging or blocking its attacks, eviscerating its wounds, and toppling it any chance we had. It was shocking how easy this fight was, and just as fast as the battle had begun, it would just as quickly meet its end. Oh wow. That was extremely fast. Useless sack of potato skin, because she didn't take down the Lala Barina at all. So we had a little bit more obliteration to do. With those two nuisances taken care of, we rendezvoused with a group where we discussed about the empowered monsters that have been appearing. And after some deliberation, we decided that we had more research to do. Or at least that was until we received word that something peculiar was happening alongside the path to Sild. As we arrived, we noticed a pillar here was completely frozen solid.
Whoa, something this big can freeze solid?
And news from across base camp stated blizzards were relentless. And if there's a relentless blizzard in the Ajarakan cliffs, that can only mean one thing for us as hunters.
It's time to take down Jin Dahaad.
Our first encounter with Jin Dahaad was an unfortunate surprise, and likewise, we simply ran for our lives. But this time the goal is different. With the environment becoming dangerously cold, the flow of energy has become blocked, and it's all a result of Jin Dahaad's state of aggression. There's no escaping it now. It's time to face the calamity of the cliffs. This might be one of the most difficult battles yet. This isn't just a monster, it's a monster! Not classified as an elder dragon, the strength of this thing alone would be enough to rival one. So we went in fully stocked up on items, as well as upgrading our equipment so that we could weather the icy storm that was about to ensue. So let's do this. As we began fighting this behemoth, the sheer size of this thing alone was enough to make us question our careers as hunters. One small misstep and we could simply be crushed by the sheer density of this monster and its metallic ridges. And speaking of ridges, we receive a tooltip that says that we should focus on breaking them. For doing so, we'll greatly weaken Jin Dahaad's ice-based attacks. Something we will learn the hard way. Knowing this though, it gave us an important task to focus on as we found ourselves cautiously approaching this monster as we tried to learn its patterns. The environment surrounding us made this quite difficult though, as the faint light within the cliffs alongside the blizzard obstructed our vision, giving Jin Dahaad an at-home advantage. As we played a dance with death, Jin Dahaad would perform massive body slams, creating the most massive tremors our hunters have seen in the Forbidden Lands. To another extreme would be its beam of ice, leaving us on the verge of feeling frostbitten when struck by the frigid beam. This feeling being amplified by the cool air radiating from its body. Jin Dahaad was putting up quite a fight, and this battle was testing us to our limits. But our limits have yet to be broken, as we were consistently hitting its ridges. So much so, in fact, that Jin Dahaad decided that he had enough, leaving to another room within the cliffs. And little did we expect what awaited us in Phase 2.
Hello there, Uncle.
How many times do I have to tell you idiots? I am not your uncle!
Uncle, we want cuddles.
Absolutely not, you imbeciles! You guys come here every week to do this! Why can't you just go away?
Cuddles.
Cuddles. Cuddles.
No! I don't give anybody cuddles!
Hugs. Hugs.
No one gets hugs! Well, except Mama.
Yeah, so while Jin Dahaad was distracted trying to fend off his nephews, Frost and I could get plenty of hits in. Yet we couldn't quite break his ridges entirely. And after Jin Dahaad had enough of Hirabami shenanigans, he decided it was high time to leave, as he busted through the wall, making his way to yet another battlefield. A battlefield where the ridges would manifest to themselves as death. As we were fighting on this third battlefield, everything was going like normal. Jin Dahaad running around and attacking us while we intermittently got our own hits in. But that all changed when Jin Dahaad decided to run up the giant icy pedestal that overlooked our battleground. As he stood there, imposing as ever, he shot down his ice beam with maximal power as the structure he stood upon began to crumble. Evading the ice beam, we noticed the opportunity awaiting us as we shot our slinger to bring the pedestal and Jin Dahaad itself crumbling down, landing on the ground in a massive thud. Little did we realize, though, that perhaps this was Jin Dahaad's plan all along, and we fell right into his trap. Okay!
What's happening?
What is this?
What's
Jin,
going on?
What are you doing?
This is super rude.
Out.
Run, find cover.
Run
Find cover. Where's the wall?
Where's the wall? There's no wall to get behind.
Over here.
No. No. What am I supposed to do?
I don't know. What was that?
Yeah, that is exactly how our first encounter with Jin Dahaad's nuke went. We were smart enough to knock him onto the ground from the pedestal, but we didn't even acknowledge the fact that we could use the smaller rocks as coverage. It only took the game backseating us to realize it. Our embarrassment aside, just as soon as we made it back onto the platform with Jin Dahaad, he would make his last escape down into the abyss of the cliffs where the final confrontation would take place, and a victor would be revealed. As we engaged Jin Dahaad in its lair, we had accumulated all the knowledge of its moveset. Now we just had to execute on that knowledge and land the finishing blow. However, it wasn't going to be as easy as we thought. Being down here in its den, he was much more aggressive, taking any opportunity to strike a devastating blow on us. Fortunately, however, we have been able to withstand its attacks and even land some opportunity strikes of our own, using the boulders suspended above to topple down onto Jin Dahaad's back for massive damage. We felt like the battle was near its curtain call, and that we would be the ones to be declared a victor. But there was one problem with that declaration, and it's that Jin Dahaad did not agree. Oh gosh, he does this down here too? Oh, we already knocked down the rocks!
No, we didn't.
Wait, there's one! Oh my gosh, it's so far!
I got it.
I don't think I can make it, dude! No!
I'm safe.
Come on!
Come on!
There's no way I can make it! No!
BBake didn't make it to the rock, and after already being obliterated by the first Nova, there was no way he could survive a second. Even worse is we both carted to the first Nova, so now we only have a single cart remaining, and it's just me and my bowgun versus this massive Jin Dahaad now. My Vigor Wasp revival's back.
Switch.
What? BBake? I thought you were a goner.
You knew I wasn't dead. You literally saw me farcast the last second the Nova was about to hit me. Besides, hunters never die, remember?
Yeah, but the viewer isn't supposed to know that.
Nope, no they weren't. But the dramatic moment is past, so it's fine now. Hooray for editing. Anyways, now that we have officially taken down Jin Dahaad, we can move on to our next target. But now that Jin Dahaad was slain, we headed back to base camp where Fabulous shows up, where he tells us that the Nerscylla we fought was in fact on crack, and that Gore Magala was the culprit. So while he furthered his investigations into Gore Magala's whereabouts, we investigated the other environments of the Forbidden Lands, as they have also been suffering from their own inclemencies. As we made our way to Kunapa, they told us Rey Dau had appeared and was especially riled up, so I just embraced my inner storm real quick and was able to take it down before we made it to Azuz, where new Udra was also sighted, causing a disruption. We succinctly turned it into ramen noodles before having a hearty meal as we made our way to the final environment under the inclemency, the Scarlet Forest. We have just slain a Jin Dahaad. We have just slain a Rey Dau. We have just slain a new Udra. And now, after all this time since Arkveld stole our kill, we finally get our chance to slay Uth Duna. However, before we could do that, we needed to deliberate with our Woodward allies who told us this.
Lord of Forest, big water. Cooperate. Good. Big together.
Okay, so if you caught any of that, the Woodward's called Uth Duna fat, and we need to eat copper to be big just like her? Anyways, as we embarked for the base camp, we made our way through the downpour, overtaking the forest until this beauty confronted the beast. As we began the fight, we had the distinct advantage of previously fighting the beast earlier in the journey, and given Uth Duna felt like the easiest of the apexes to fight, we knew that we were in for a battle of minimal difficulty. Between the sheer size of this thing and the large wind-up on its attacks, it gave us ample time to guard or dodge most anything it threw at us. There were very little moments that Uth Duna was truly able to land a hit on us. That changed drastically, however, once we knocked off its protective veil. This is when it began to feel like a true battle. With its veil broken, it was no longer weighed down by the water, taking on a new demeanor of aggression and agility, masterfully gliding amongst the water, slashing out with its claws and slamming its gut down upon us, releasing a massive tremor. Uth Duna was certainly giving its all, and if we didn't have the experience of fighting it beforehand, there was a very large chance that we would have been taken out by this unexpected change in demeanor. Unfortunately, however, we did have that experience, so now it was just a straight brawl for survival.
That was an awesome finisher. I countered it.
Just as soon as we'd slain Uth Duna, the plenty began to spread amongst the Scarlet Forest. And as we were heading back to base camp to discuss our victory and next steps, little did we realize the most unimaginable thing was about to transpire.
Whoa, Frost, BBake, is that you?
Larry? Oh my goodness, what are you doing here? The last time we saw you was back in the old jungle in Freedom Unite.
Yeah, it's been a while. Seems you two have been doing pretty well for yourselves in the Forbidden Lands.
Oh yeah, definitely. We were actually just heading back from a successful hunt. How have things been going with you, Larry?
Oh, things have been going great! After the guild sent me here as an undercover researcher, I found myself venturing through the forest when my eyes landed on the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Really? Is there a secret in this forest we don't know about?
No. Let me finish. It wasn't some secret. It was a girl. She had the most alluring scales and the eyes that just pierce your very soul. My heart was on fire. Oh, don't get me started on her voluptuous body. I could barely contain my primal instincts. I had no choice but to introduce myself, and being such the stud I am, she simply couldn't resist my charm. We've been dating for a good 2 months now, and I'm the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. It's hard to believe I used to be known as Fred the Failure, especially now that I proposed to her and we are getting married in 2 weeks. I just can't believe it's all real.
No way! That's amazing! We're so happy for you, Larry!
Yeah, that's so nice to hear. So who's the lucky girl?
I mean, I would call myself the lucky guy, but regardless of that fact, her name is Uth Duna.
Frost, we just killed Uth Duna. Yeah, I know. What do we do? I don't know. We have to tell him something.
What? We can't just tell him we murdered his girlfriend!
Obviously.
Man, if he finds out he's a letter, he's gonna kill us! We have to get out of here!
But how? We can't just walk away as he's telling us his life story.
Yeah, I know, but come on! Oh gosh, this is really, really bad.
I know it's really bad. You don't have to tell me twice.
Okay. I gotta just follow my lead.
Yeah, that's great and all, but we gotta get going now, Larry. Our guildmates are waiting for us.
Yeah, bye, Larry. Sorry about best of luck to you.
What's wrong, guys?
There you two are. It took me forever to find you. The guild wanted me to say good job slaying that Uth Duna.
You... what?
Oh,
You're for killing my fiancée.
Frost,
You're not getting away. I know this is the spot.
If we weren't acquainted with Larry, I am positive he would have killed us like we killed his girlfriend. Luckily, however, he spared our lives. Because, say it with me, hunters don't die! But he did steal all of our armor, weapons, and zenny. So out of spite, we begged Gemma for some weapons and went to go slay some Uth Dunas to craft ourselves our armor. But just as we finished slaying our first one, Larry reappeared. Larry, please, have mercy!
Yeah, guys, I wanted to apologize actually. Uth Duna always kept a diary with her, and since she was dead, I thought I might as well read it. And turns out she was actually just a gold digger who wanted the zenny I get from working with the guild. So you guys actually did me a favor if you think about it.
Oh, you're welcome?
Yeah, to recompense what I did to you two, I actually wanted to give you guys a present. It's a full set of Guardian Arkveld's armor and weapons. I feel like it's the least I could do to help you guys after what I did. They're even imbued with a special dormant power that will awaken when the time is right.
Wait, what do you mean, dormant power? How did you even get this equipment?
Like I said, you'll find out when the time is right. And do you really need to ask? I work with the guild, remember? Oh yeah, and speaking of that, I was talking with Fabius right before I came here to meet you guys. He said that he discovered the whereabouts of Gore Magala and wanted me to tell you guys to rendezvous at the Ice Shard Cliffs.
Oh, we'll get right on that. But first, we appreciate the equipment. However, you also stole all of our zenny too, and that was—
Don't push your luck, bub.
Okay. We'll just take the equipment. We still appreciate it very much. Friends.
Acquaintances.
We'll take it. And that concluded the story of how we encountered Larry after defeating Uth Duna. And with our next orders in line, we made haste to the Ice Shard Cliffs where Fabulous rallied the group together as he discovered Gore Magala made its home within the Ice Shard Cliffs. So we set out to bust this criminal. Little did we realize, however, that this would result in one of the most harrowing sights we have ever seen. And just as we steadied ourselves for battle against these two frenzied foes, nature decided to take its course. And then it emerged.
Dressed in a cloak of shadow dark as night, Gore Magala appeared, stirring up quite a fright. Fabius, standing in front of his imposing foe. There you are. His memories taking him back to a time of woe. Now, for the time is nigh, and our spirits held up high. It is time for Gore Magala to die.
With the threat of Gore Magala now erased from the ecosystem, we have received news that Nata was doing some investigative research and he wants to share his findings with us. As we convene, Nata reveals that Arkveld has reappeared, but it is exhibiting aberrant behavior. Searching for answers, he collaborated with Eric to discern the root cause of such behavior, as well as the recent inclemencies and enraged monsters throughout the Forbidden Lands. In an effort to explain such a phenomenon, Eric posits the notion of bioconcentration as a result of Gore Magala's frenzy virus. A phenomenon occurring through Mommy Nature's wyvern milkies becoming corrupted, thereby exhibiting characteristics carried by the virus. This corrupted energy then disperses itself throughout the environment, making its way into the organisms and becoming increasingly concentrated as it rises up the food chain until it reaches the apex predators of each region. Such concentration then attracts Arkveld to siphon the energy from these apexes, thereby assimilating the characteristics of the frenzy itself. And with Arkveld already having attacked an Uth Duna and new Udra, that logically leads to Rey Dau as the next victim. There's no time to waste now. We made haste to the Wind's Gasp, where the confrontation of this whole journey is about to take place. At the pinnacle of the Windward Plains, two behemoths locked in a standoff. Rey Dau, the Shining Thunder Wyvern, and Arkveld, the Chainblade Wyvern. They both release a thunderous roar, sounding the horn to battle. Both monsters, slightly weakened from respective attacks, evade each other's next move before Rey Dau begins to charge up its signature ray gun, releasing a massive bolt of lightning straight for Arkveld. But Arkveld was prepared, claw-wielding its chains to absorb the attack as its appendages begin to pulse with draconic energy. The battle is over. Arkveld is won. This power, however, is too much to bear, and the boy who once saw himself in this monster knew.
The path we must take is clear.
You sure?
If I were a hunter, it's what I would do.
All right.
Alma! Right! The target is an aberrant Arkveld. The guild authorizes the hunt!
Understood!
It became apparent rather quickly that Arkveld simply stood no chance. It may be in a state of frenzy and enragement, staring at us with those lost, soulless eyes. But we were dodging basically every attack he was throwing at us. The best he could really do was just try to survive, especially after we landed this critical hit.
After landing such a devastatingly brutal blow, Arkveld released a massive roar before making its retreat into the desert. So we hopped onto our sacrets and hastily chased after it, but as we were trailing it through the sands, we noticed a rather concerning sight. Are these dead?
Yes, those Balahara were in fact dead. A fate that I would soon meet, but only to a similar extent. For as we continued our battle against Arkveld, our Palico would place a shock trap that we would try to strategically lure Arkveld into. In my efforts to get behind it, I would get caught out of place as Arkveld could land a devastating blow. Unbeknownst to me, however, the act of carting would thus invoke the latent power Larry had imbued within my armor, and as Frost continued the battle against Arkveld, he would witness its effects firsthand as I absorbed the darkness from the environment. And just as soon as that occurred, Arkveld began to limp away back to the pinnacle of the plains. As for what Larry's powers did, you'll find out soon enough. However, it has been one heck of a journey, but now it is finally time that we end this wild ride. This whole journey began when we found Nata on the brink of death in the midst of the desert, made destitute through a mysterious monster that assaulted his village. In our efforts to find this creature, we found ourselves fighting against a plethora of different monsters, familiarizing ourselves with the civilizations that have inhabited these lands, and venturing into different environments, learning more about this landscape and the deeply rooted history linked to its ancestral past. Guardian Arkveld, the creature shackled by its role as guardian, null and void from the natural order that defines nature, gone rogue in an effort to reclaim its freedom. But its rampage became too dangerous for us to let it roam free. So against the wishes of the boy who once wished utter destruction upon Arkveld for taking his life away from him, now turned sympathetic, we had no choice but to end Guardian Arkveld's life. But where science has failed, nature has prevailed. For we discovered that it had spawned an egg, breaking free from the chains that shackle it into its role as guardian, ushering a new era where Arkveld as a species could once again know freedom and prosperity. But is it really right for us to say that Arkveld is truly free? Arkveld may have been able to break free from the chains that shackled it to the ancient civilization, but it is yet to remain free from the shackles that is humanity. We came here to these forbidden lands as outsiders, wielding weapons and strength like these creatures have never seen. Rey Dau, New Udra, Jin Dahaad, Uth Duna, they may be the apexes of their respective regions, but we are the apexes of existence, exacting our divine judgment as we deem necessary to fit our existence. These creatures might be able to roam free, but so long as we're here to research, so long as we are here to observe them, and so long as we are here to step in when the time is needed, these monsters will never know true freedom. For when a monster exhibits aberrant behavior, we will be there to step out of the shadows as the bringers of their doom. And because of this, Arkveld will never truly be free! What you are about to witness is our epic journey through Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, if only that worked in the game. The power of editing sure is amazing sometimes.
What's going on?
What are you doing?
This is a room.
Out.
Run,
Okay. Run behind the wall. Get behind the wall. Where's the wall?
I do, but I don't help ugly people.
Arnold, watch your mouth!
Die! Die 1,000 deaths! You will pay for killing my fiancé.
Frost, run!
Likewise, for a monster that's a joke, it is only deserving that he gets one for his demise.
I'm a chat man!
I don't care if he is within human, because soon he will become one with me.
We were feeling a bit remorseful for this Alpha Doshaguma. There's no remorse left. Now it must die.
I was bullied so hard at school I dropped out of kindergarten.
We were the masters of his destiny, and we held his fate on our threads. He may have gotten a hit in here or there, but he stood no chance! Can you please let us pass so we can help this child?
No.
Do you even know who I am? The name's Ajarakan. I'm kind of a big deal.
I couldn't save Frost, but at least I might be able to save the people of Azuz, and while that alone should be enough to motivate me to fight, that wasn't the real driver here. As we began our fight, we had simply thought this was a mere subspecies, but there were just a few aspects to that hypothesis that were particularly off. Another monster suffering from the same affliction as that Doshaguma, but this one a Rathalos. The only problem with this, though, is that while it thought we were its prey, we were in fact the predator.
Oh, here we go!
Arkveld must die, but in the very least, it will be able to pass on peacefully, and doing so after it was able to live for itself, and not in servitude of those who made it.
By my own order,
We are either going to beat this monster,
I will slay Zoh Shia.
or we're gonna die trying. As we pulled up to the scene, we found the Lala Barina going wonky wonk, and it would attack this sacred whose badonkadonk would slam into this pod, spawning this chonky chonk.
No one gets hard! Well, except Mama.
Okay, so if you caught any of that, the one was called Uth Duna fat, and we need to eat copper to be big just like her? Anyways,
Because of this, Arkveld will never truly be free!